Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of Making Light Two Humans Being. I'm Julie Heert, and with me, as always, is Kate Fago. And today we're going to talk about what, for me, came through as today's A Course in Miracles lesson, which is I am the light in the world. And we were just talking before we started the episode about what that means. So we thought we would take that and allow it to morph into a couple other things that we would like to cover and see where it goes from there. So welcome to today's episode, and we'll get started. Okay.
I'm determined to look it up now. I'm sure there's a song.
Yeah.
I am the light of the world.
Okay.
Of the world. So what does that mean to you?
So I'm going to say even more, like, it means to me also because the person with whom I'm studying A Course in Miracles from is Marianne Williamson, and we'll put a link to her in the show notes. And she was saying that basically I am the divine having a human experience. I am created by God, which in a previous episode we talked about that word, and it still gives me the little, I'm created by God. And God wants me here to be happy, to be joyful, to enjoy life, to create, to be a force of good, to be a force, well, that's judgment, to be light in this world. And when I choose not to believe, not to be happy, to think I have to do it all by myself, and therefore I'm separate from the larger thing at play, or my community or my family, I'm actually snubbing God, the creator, source, the universe. And basically, and I'm paraphrasing for Marianne, she did not say it this way, but I'm basically snubbing him, and I'm arrogant. It is where the ego steps into play when I decide that I am separate and I am not part of her, him, it, the universe thing. So that's where I was. That's how it means to me. And it actually really feels empowering to me when I'm like, oh, I can do anything. Like, it's that kind of a feeling.
See, as you explained it there, I felt more resistance to it because, and I don't know if this is Marianne's style, because she is quite, I wouldn't say blood of Jesus religious, but she tends to, it sounds punishing and threatening to me as opposed to lovely and light and this is great. You know, it's almost that it's undeserving of you to behave. It just feels a bit conventional religion. You are not appreciating, getting in trouble for not being godly enough. That's what it brings up for me. It's sort of like, oh, I'm doing this wrong too. Like on the one hand, I don't have a confidence in myself and my beliefs to go, woo, I'm the light of the world. I'm wonderful. Not only am I struggling with that, but now I'm actually, being criticized for this is triggering me into the sort of you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't type thing, that when somebody's down and struggling with something, that then someone comes along and and snap out of it. Gets you into trouble. Interesting. I'm desperate to Google. I'm sure they're Jesus's words.
Yeah, it's all the same. Yes, I don't disagree. Yeah.
I am the light of the world, and he who blah 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 blah. I'm sure that he who follows me, yada yada yada. I'm sure it's a Bible. Anyway, it's irrelevant. I do feel. See, I love the "you can do no wrong" premise. The Abraham Hicks "you can do no wrong." Nothing serious going on here. May feel serious, but it's not, but we'll always love you. You can't stop us loving you. It's also tempered with the we don't love you because you're great. We love you because we are love. And that's the very human reaction to that is, what do you mean you don't love me because I'm great? It's like, but it's sort of like, this is not about you, this is about us. We just love. That's what we do. You can't displease us. I like that side of it. As soon as we get into the, and Caroline, Mace.
I say Mace. Yeah.
She, I, on the one hand, I think she's great. She's really invigorating, but she's another one. She gets really angry at people. Like, how dare you? And I can see the point.
How dare you what? I'm curious as to how.
What's the word she used? How dare you look to other people to give you your joy? That's not the word she used. It was about how dare you expect things. Like nobody owes you anything, which is a quite a deviation from the standard. The universe loves you and will give you whatever you want.
Yeah, but they don't owe it to you.
Yeah, maybe that's a subtlety. Nobody owes you anything. Get off your ass and make it happen for yourself, which again is a bit of the push religious. I think it's to do with that I am so struggling with that background of push, do, you're not good enough, you're not this, you're not that when you really struggle, and I don't mean, I do not envisage myself as a victim. I do not envisage myself as powerless and all these things, but I am learning that I am enormously powerless in this area of needing to prove my worthiness all the time, which is going really, really deep. The last thing I need when I'm really trying to, the only way to get over that, as you know, is to just back off and be nice to yourself. The last thing you need is someone introducing some doubt as to how you're doing that. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Not completely. I mean, I feel like you've got a thread. You just need to keep going.
I'm right. Either where I am right now, which is I am unusually not in an amazing place right now, but you know, it happens. Let's acknowledge that it happens to all of us. And it's harder, I think, the further you go doing this work, to accept when you're not in a good place, because it feels so much worse than it did when everything was shit. So now when I fall off my high flying disc, shall we say, it's not really high flying, but when I lose my alignment, it's a lot more apparent. Where am I going with this? There are two ways to describe. I had a long conversation with my sister about this, because obviously she shares my background, so she had the same childhood factors as me. That either I am either resisting healing for reasons that I cannot believe I have not explored already, because I've explored so much, or there is just more to come, as in not everybody has, and everyone says this, not everybody has the same background. Now you can come from a background, okay, hear me out and shut me up if this is shit, right? But you know, there are people who come from a much more obviously abusive background than me. On the surface, I was not abused. I had a responsible middle class, lower middle, whatever. We were okay. We ate. We had things. We didn't have a lot, but we had enough. And I lived in some way a privileged life in some respects. So what's your fucking problem, Kate? Right, get over it. Snap out of it. Okay. There are people I know, and we meet a lot of them in our community, who have come from horrifically abusive, alcohol, violence, all these sort of drugs, whatever. But there's this huge conflict now, because there's a bit of me that does not want to be that moaning, whinging person. But what I either have to understand that I am keeping myself in my misery intentionally, willfully, through resistance, or the wounds that I carry are very, 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 very deep. And the book that Danielle recommended that I read, which is about children of self-obsessed parents, I think it's called, their point was that in a lot of experience with therapy, that people that come from that sort of background take a lot longer, for the simple reason that when you are in a relationship with a parent where it is where you're not getting your needs met in any way, shape or form, in terms of emotional needs, I'm not talking about physical needs, that's a very, very long duration, because that is every single moment of your life. And then as you grow up to be a damaged adult, it continues with a dysfunctional relationship with your parents as you go on, as opposed to having a violent spouse or relationship or an abusive relationship. So I suppose even with sexual abuse, it tends to be a finite period. I'm not in any way belittling it. This is just the only explanation I can come up with, is that to have someone pick away, do you know that? So either I am consciously resisting healing because, and I feel there may be punishment there, that I'm punishing myself, which is as a result of my wounds. I don't believe I'm hiding behind my suffering. Like it doesn't stop me doing things, because there is that side of this. Someone said it always comes down to 3 Bs, which I can't remember what they are, so that's a pointless thing to say. Anyway, thoughts.
Do you think it could be a combination of both?
Possibly, I'm open to that.
Yeah, because the wounds are deep, there is resistance, and because the resistance, the wounds continue to stay deep. Like it feels like they kind of feed each other a little bit.
Okay. I accept that.
Yeah, and I don't, like the guides are saying this too, I don't feel that like these wounds are lifetimes in the making. And that was just my dog just flopping on the floor. And I don't feel like this is something that's just like for you. I mean, that's just not, because you have to, because they are many lifetimes in the making, with additional stuff thrown in this lifetime, there is a lot of work, which is why you chose this lifetime to work through a lot of that. I know.
Yes, and that's what my sister gets as well. And I mean, she follows different channels to me, and her healing is different, but that's the same thing. It's like generations will carry it down until somebody steps up and goes, right.
Yeah.
Like all these people who think they're happy in the world, that are just bumbling along with no self-awareness whatsoever and doing just fine, thanks very much.
Yeah.
They're just pushing it on to the next generation. And then some mug like me comes along and goes, oh, right, let's do this. So me and my sister come, and we are mopping up lifetimes. And it's another reason why neither of us have children, apparently, is because neither of us wanted to pass this trauma on. We have to deal with it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. Because that's a different set of, because you only have your shit to play with, if you will. You would just cause like a ripple effect, I guess. If you had another human being that you were responsible for, it's more of like a ripple effect. Like when I say workarounds that my dad has, that I also do, but I do them for a different reason. But it's that.
Yeah, because I would have, it's taken me to 50 to start working on this stuff. Think of the damage I could have done by now.
Right.
And that's just because there are times I have to say that my life feels hopeless, and I don't mean I'm going to go and kill myself or anything like that, but I'm just like, oh my God, something knocks me off my perch, and I'm just like, this is so hard. I wish I didn't know any of this stuff. I want to cry now. I wish I could be like Gary, who just goes, all right, gets up in the morning and, has a shit day or doesn't have a shit day, but doesn't see any more than that. Whereas I'm going away and going, why? Licking my why? Why do I feel this way? And I still come back to, I want to go and live in a cave, because I know now it's even worse, because I know it's all me. I can't blame anyone else anymore. Mm-hmm. This is all me. But this doesn't change the desire of wanting to go and live in a cave somewhere. So, because I feel like I could cope with me if there was nobody else there.
Well, it feels like
where's my light? Sorry, we're deviating somewhat from the light of the world. My point is, when you are that person, I appreciate that I'm looking at this from a somewhat dampened perspective, if I'm struggling to shine my light, the last thing I need is to be told off for it. I guess that's my point.
It's interesting that is
What I took from it.
Exactly. Yeah. That you take it more as like a like a judgment or a challenge or a yeah.
I don't want a challenge. A challenge is another way of making people do things they don't want to do. Go on.
So fascinating. So fascinating.
Toxic masculinity.
Yeah. So like for me, I feel like so in right now, in the biggest negative belief, of which there are 4, those of you who've been watching, negative beliefs, there are 4: not worthy, not lovable, not safe, secure, and protected, and not good enough, right? So, and then what we do in this lifetime is those negative beliefs are really kind of solidified for the human aspect between the ages of 0 and 5. We figure out the influencing factors, and then we develop workarounds so we don't have to feel this negative belief, don't have to feel the pain. And as we get older, whatever events happen, we realize that this is what's going on. And when we work on identifying the workarounds with the negative belief, things can begin to shift. So that's a nutshell of soul level intuitive coaching. My negative belief that I've been working on is not worthy. So for somebody to say to me, I am the light, what was it? I am the light.
I'm the light of the world.
I am the light in the world. I'm like, really? Me? How can I be like, Oprah is, I've named certain heroes of mine, and I'm like, I can't be. But the more I hear it, and this has been work that's been ongoing. This is the 2nd year I've done Course in Miracles. And so I'm starting all over again, if you will. So I'm on day 61, I think is today. And so now, after going through A Course in Miracles for a year, and also our whole book club has read a number of books like Matt Kahn and I Create, and I'm looking at my bookshelf for all Power versus Force. I realize, and again, because I didn't particularly care for religion and this idea of God being an angry God and like, do right, do wrong, heaven, hell, and I never believed any of that. Now I'm like finding, because that's not really what it is. For somebody to say to me, I am the light, it feels more like someone is extending a hand and connecting me to a larger game at afoot, if you will. And that and this is to me, I am the light of the world, and high flying disc to me, from Abraham Hicks, is actually to me the same type of empowering statement. I can step onto that high flying disc, ask for what I want, and then become in the receiving mode. I am the light of the world. I'm going to stand in this place of love and light and do it for myself. And in that, this ripple effect, like I had a reading yesterday about an animal that was showing her human ripple effect of love. So this ripple effect of love and how it then impacts the world. But that part's not my responsibility, just my response. And then when I am in that high flying disc alignment, love of the light of the world, and I can see all the signs, synchronicity, the signs become clearer, like the light you saw the other night, all of that type of thing. So I find it to be more of an indication than a criticism.
I guess that is entirely about perspective, isn't it? Because I am in that sort of small, oh my God, is this ever going to get any easier? I wish I could put this all back in a box type mentality at the moment. Just, I would be like my sister was saying, do you think we'd be happier if we just never poked at this? And I had my husband say that to me as well, which I must admit did trigger me. He said, you used to be happy. And I thought, I don't remember that.
Yeah,
I may have not known any better, but I certainly wasn't happy. In fact, I suppose I would have said I was happy because it's just normal. It's just life, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're not dead, then you're happy.
If you're not dead.
Well, as in, unless something unless you can quantify what's wrong, you would say, yeah, I'm all right. You know, like you can live a long life of not being happy, but not necessarily articulating that you're unhappy.
Yeah, which to me just feels like meh.
Yeah.
Just
I think I lived a lot of years in there. And Gary said, I think you used to be happy. And I don't think I was. I just maybe didn't have enough hope to expect better.
And I would also throw out there, because the guides are saying it, because you're talking about it and putting light on it, he sees it now too, whereas you didn't have light on it. So the conversation wasn't about this. The conversation was about other things. He equates the other things as happiness. Now that you're actually truly digging into things, it's putting light on it. And that's where he's thinking you're not happy. So it's not that you're not happy or we're happier.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I was. I think it was that we obviously didn't, I probably didn't question my state of mind.
Yeah. So last week you and I talked, but we didn't create an episode, but we talked about forgiveness, because the guides are reminding me. Wasn't there something about what the guides were saying with you about forgiving yourself, little step by step, little things every single time you do something and catch yourself? Does that ring a bell? No?
It does.
Okay.
I usually did I write it down? I know the forgive yourself.
Okay.
I can't remember what I was supposed to do. That's awful, isn't it? I have my memories just share.
Yeah. There was homework and it was around forgiveness. And it was just even for tiny little, like the tiniest of little things, when that little voice starts to pop in your head.
I forgive myself for feeling that way.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
I have been feeling that.
Okay.
I don't think it's been busy because I've had my sister here, so I haven't really.
Oh, Stella's here right now?
She's just left. She left this morning.
Okay. Nice.
And it was fine. It was peaceful, but I think that's part of what's pushed me down, is this, again, feeling of powerlessness that
Also,
because so we had all this issue about Harry not wanting people in the house. It is really awkward for me. I feel powerless because I want my sister to stay. My husband doesn't like having visitors. You know, that I feel stuck in the middle and then I can't do the right thing. Had it out with Gary and he said, well, you know, because to him, it's just him being a man, as in I'd rather they didn't. And when I said, well, actually, now you've created this great big stooshy that to me is unforgivable. And then he's like, oh, sorry. Okay, well, I'll just suck it up. But the damage is done. And he's fine. But I am so sensitive to what he's feeling, to what my sister's feeling, that it's really stressful for me. It wasn't particularly, but it's just the knowledge that I feel so vulnerable to what other people think and feel, that in all this time I have not learned to just, which is what I need to do. I know I have to do this. I can't blame Gary for this. I can't blame my sister for this. This is my reaction to a perceived situation, but I feel completely powerless in not being affected by people close to me, hence wanting to live in a ditch somewhere. Yeah. I just don't want people. It's like I can't protect myself from this, therefore I understand this is my problem. This is the thing, I am no longer blaming them, right? I know it's me, but if I cannot protect myself from their bad juju, what do you do? Move away, go somewhere where there is no bad juju.
It's no, I don't think so, because I think that juju follows you. It's juju, by the way.
Yes, agreed. It would be a bear or a deer, or
yeah.
a porcupine or someone will come and find me and give me bad. I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. I know it's within me that I have to resolve this and heal this, but therein lies the helplessness. It's like I don't know how to do that.
And that to me is where the forgiveness comes back into play. There was a lot of in what you were saying before you said bad juju, because juju is my nickname, by the way. That's what my nephew.
You bad juju?
I have a notebook that says good juju, and I prefer to focus on that. There was a lot of judgment on yourself instead of not instead of, because I'm not trying to say good, bad, or whatever. I'm not trying to put that, but there was a lot of judgment on yourself.
Because I should be stronger. I should be better. I should be past this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In a place, I'll say it this way. This is the guides. Thank you, guides. In a place where it should be forgiveness. Oh, look, like Matt Kahn, whatever comes up, love that, right? So Gary is like, oh, okay, right. I won't worry about it. And for you, you said the damage is done. It's interesting that it's the damage is done instead of in a place of, or whatever they just had me say, in place of, right? In place of, he's able to, oh, well, okay, let it go.
Yeah.
It's not that
Yes, I misspoke. Yes, it's the
No,
fact
no,
that he
you
goes,
didn't misspeak.
oh, that's fine. He's like, okay, well, I'll just have to suck it up. Whereas I'm like, he doesn't like having them here. I feel responsible for how he feels. I don't want to tell my sister not to come. And it's like I can't shut that off.
Yeah.
Once I became aware that this was making him unhappy. Like before, I knew that it hasn't come up because they never stayed with us. Stella had stayed with us, but never as a couple. And I do get that it's more intrusive to have a couple staying with you than just my sister, because we'd just go off and do our own thing. So he wouldn't even notice, other than missing me, he
Right.
wouldn't notice anything was amiss. But now there's another person in the house. So if this had not come up, I would not worry about it. Now it's been brought to my attention. I'm like, oh, here we go. Another big fuck off, nasty can of worms for Kate to have to deal with.
And you
Unexpected.
huh? And what?
And unexpected as well. Just completely knocked me off my.
Maybe it was a good, juicy bit, as our teacher Danielle would say, right? And
I don't want juicy bits. Truly don't want juicy bits. Want peace, clarity.
But that's what comes from the juicy bits, is the peace and the clarity. And conversations like these, I'm just going to say, guys are like, in conversations like these. Yeah, because you won't get the clarity and the peace until this stuff is resolved, which reminds me, because they're asking me too, have you ever had a conversation with our colleague, Sally Heike, whose website we'll put in the show notes, where she works through the thing you've been working on for?
Yes, it was sorrow.
Sorrow. How many lifetimes have you been working on sorrow?
I don't know. I'll have to.
Okay.
I want to say 10, but I don't know. Like, I can't remember. It'll be in my notes somewhere.
What's the negative belief you're working on right now with all of this?
Well, I haven't asked recently. In my history, since we started this, was always not good enough.
Okay.
But my last set of so it just still very raw. The last set of group coaching I had revealed that underneath all of these is that my not good enough is actually a workaround for being unlovable.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And the unlovable is still, I can be open and transparent, I think, about not good enough and unworthy, because I can see them and I can explain them, and I can. Unlovable, it's still a bit sore, even to, I don't really want to touch it, if I'm honest. And that's maybe why all this stuff's coming up now, is I am at a phase where I don't want to go there right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense, particularly as strong as the resistance is on everything, which the guides are coming right back around to. I am the light of the world, in the idea of wherever you are, love that, whatever arises, love that. Like you, the unlovable thing is what the guides are saying me, the unlovable thing in one aspect or one step forward, like little step forward, is loving what arises and at the same moment forgiving yourself. We're either, you know, somewhere in there tandem in that, to forgive yourself for even having the, I'll say the icky emotion, and not quite being able to get to the love it, like that little, because it feels like that's a process to, and that process of getting from the icky to the, okay, love, thank you for the lesson, thank you for the opportunity, whatever it may, thank you for the challenge, thank you for the opportunity, whatever that may be. But that process to even get to that love is just this, I forgive myself, you know, and that ongoing taking it easy on yourself and just being the light. Focus on the light, which is why you asked Maria to show you a light the other night, right? That's what the guides are saying. That's why you chose light. You just didn't know that's why you chose light. Does that make sense? That's what they're saying. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I love the analogy of the light, and I love the you know, regardless of the properties of light, physical properties and all of that, just that I think it's what is it, blessed are the cracked, for they let in the light. That's all about being your authentic self, isn't it? Because that's nothing that comes up alongside the being the light thing.
Yeah. It's also rather interesting that blessed are the cracked, because they bring in the light, which is what a human is cracked. And this is making light to humans beings. So I'm just like, it's interesting, like to me, like all these little dots. And I will say, Maria's right here going, my Kate, will you just take my hand? My Kate, I'm right here. So yeah, I'm sorry to make you cry. Yeah, lots of light.
Yeah.
Sally's also saying like the pudding, that's her way of making light. And she makes puddings on you.
Yeah. She's so sweet at the moment.
Yeah.
So sweet. I think since we're being honest and transparent about it, I think what I find frightening about it is that with all the training that we've done, look at me, you know?
Yeah. But I will say, how long have you been training?
Year and a half, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah. Drop in the, if you look at this lifetime, it's a drop in the bucket. If you look at the expanse of your lifetimes, it's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
Bigger, it's a tinier drop in the bucket.
But
and something else you said, oh, and the other thing is not training, practice.
Yeah. Well, because my sister's a rapid transformational therapist, which was Marissa Peer, amazing stuff. And so her situation, she had a really serious chronic pain that she's overcome, and that's what she specializes in amongst other things. But the both of us, it's like I have sessions with people and they go, oh, it's amazing, you've changed my life, feels like, you know, and they wander off happy, and I'm like, it's like, that's part of it is, and don't get me wrong, that's so gratifying to be able to help people and shift them, even with energy healing, with the animal communication, with the soul level coaching, to bring people so much awareness and so much growth. But to feel for yourself that, you know, you are only do you know what I mean? It's there is, I know everybody's journey is different and everything, but it's hard to always be the one going, well, yeah, that was nice, but it didn't quite hit the spot for me, or it hasn't, it hasn't had the same impact. The stuff that I do for other people seems to have a much larger impact on them than when I have it on myself, which is great for them. But then you're back to, again, well, what's wrong with me, which I know is not a question. There's nothing wrong with me, I get that. But it's frustrating to not see the same results that other people see.
It's interesting to me and the guides, and I'm saying this in the most compassionate way, but I have no other words, the self-flagellation that continues. Mm-hmm. Because you have made such incredible rapid progress in such a short period of time that there's no celebration of that. There's no awareness of that. Instead, in place of it, there is a ongoing comparison with other people, and you actually have no idea what anybody else is going through. Your ego, which is really strong, wants you to say, I'm not good enough because I'm not lovable. So I'm going to think that they're all in a place that's different from me. When all in our community, we all celebrate the Kate Foggo-ness that she brings to every single meeting. Every single conversation that we have as a community, when Kate arrives, it's a good thing. We know we're going to have a good discussion because you bring things to the party that we either gloss over, or we're like, oh, woo, whatever. And you let us think about it in a really good, strong way to help us practice. And in that is your light too, starting to shine through.
It's always been my light, the troublemaker.
Thought provoker.
I that was my value at work. I know was going, hang on a minute, you'll pretend you understand this, but none of you can actually explain it to me. Mm-hmm. People, yeah.
So I'm the optimist that I am, which I know that people get a little upset with me sometimes because I'm always, oh yeah, I get that thrown in my face all the time.
How dare you be so optimistic?
I know, how dare, I know, it's just like, whatever. I'm learning that I used to use that and tamper myself down. And now I'm like, oh, can't I? Okay, that's your issue, not mine. The optimist, troublemaker, I would say thought provoker. To me, there's different energy in them, but that's me. That's me.
Yeah. I mean, I say troublemaker in a good way because I like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, John Lewis, human rights activist and voting rights activist in the United States, would his key phrase before he passed away a couple years ago, make good trouble. So Kate Foggo makes good trouble.
I don't quite know how this relates to me, but it feels very it resonates with me, and it's also along the lines of shining your light. Is I can't remember what season I'm watching RuPaul now, season 10 I think it is, and there's a queen called Eureka who's very larger than life, very boisterous, very boisterous, shall we say, and she's having conflict with one of the other queens. Mm-hmm. And when they're trying to talk it out, she's saying that for so much of her life she was told to be quiet, to hold it in, not to be herself because she's so outrageous and flamboyant and excitable and all these things. That now that she started doing drag and allowed herself to be as she is, she can't tone it down anymore because she's spent her whole life not being able to be who she wanted to be. And now that she is, and she says, I apologize if it's too much for you, and I understand that it's too much for you, but this is who I am, and I can't, there's no moderation. She says, maybe I'll learn in a few years' time that there is this moderation, but I just can't at the moment. And interestingly, the other queen who is black, homosexual, male, and had spent his whole life not speaking out about his truth, when he started doing drag, he started being political and talking and getting involved with the communities and stuff like that. Now he's found his voice. He gets very, very angry very quickly. And this is what he said. He said, in finding my voice, I find I go from 0 to 100. I haven't learned to come. I don't know. This is all resonating with me. I'm not sure how I fit into all of this, but I do feel that there is a part of me that I think of Eureka. I think of Nyla, the hen. I feel a huge affinity for Nyla because Nyla's big, boisterous troublemaker, basically. And she's my girl. I feel that was me. I was always in trouble for speaking my mind, getting too excited. And there's an authenticity in here somewhere that I can't find or will take time to come out that seems to sit in all of that about shining a light. And I think I'm going through a bit of a panic with everything else that's going on. It's like, who am I? I know there's more to me. Where is it? How can I? I'm talking shit, Julie, but it was nice. Thank you.
You're not talking shit. That last bit was your ego coming through. I'm labeling, and I'm not meaning to label it or like condemn anything. Like that's not the intent. It's just more that anytime you begin to, where am I, or try to define yourself in terms of something else, that's the ego instead of the light. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I'm finding my light.
We all are. Right? It's not like, oh, there's a play called Book of Mormon. Have you ever seen the Book of Mormon? Oh, I highly recommend it. It is so funny. It is about Mormons. But it was written by, are you familiar with the show South Park?
Yes.
So it was written by the guys that did South Park.
Oh, okay. Have to look that up then.
Yeah. So if you get a chance, if there's any way to watch it, see it, it's hysterical. But there's a song in the play called Turn It Off. I think the name of the song is, I don't know anyways, but it's about so all these young Mormon men that are going out to do their missionary work, they're all together, and some of them may not conform to the specific sexual gender roles that one would want of a young male. And because that may not be appreciated in that particular setting and or religion, mind you, they sing this song about don't recognize that part of yourself, turn it off like a light switch. So that song just came up, like, it's not like I just flip a switch and whoo, on, here I am. It's a daily practice. It's a daily practice of, oh yeah, whenever, I get into a little row with Brad, if you will, it's just like, okay, like I just have to not let it go, not just accept the behavior, but find a way to forgive how I feel, not forgive how I feel because what I'm feeling is bad, but just more like, okay, this is how I'm feeling, and kind of work through that in my response to it. But at the same time, try not to counter him with the exact same energy, because that's the practice. And that's kind of a tangent that may not be related, but yeah, it's a practice. Being the light. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I think that's it. I end up going around in circles. Should I be trying harder? But it actually all comes down to acceptance, which is forgiveness, isn't it? And I know that, but then this gets involved and it's like, how? Just tell me how. I keep waiting, and I think if I get miserable enough, will something shift me? Because you hear about, Eckhart Tolle and people like that are on the brink of losing their minds, and boop, they have an awakening. And it's like, oh, for the love of God, just sort me out, will you? I'm just floundering around as a human, and I feel like I'm not getting anywhere. And I know that in 2 days' time, this is all going to feel very different, but I've just been on not down all the way, just it's hard.
The guys are showing me, as is Maria, like, just know that there's a lot of people around you that are just extending their hand.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Make me cry. So thank you, everybody. That's the end of today's episode about I am the light. I would say of the world. You said in the world, of the world, in the world, both. Any, either, whatever, both will do. Either will do. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Kate Foggo. This is Julie Hurt. And together we are making light. And if you've enjoyed this, please do let us know. You can join us on Facebook. You can join us here on YouTube. All the links are down here. We're also on Instagram. Comments, requests for conversations, anything you want, feel free. We would love to hear from you. And if you've enjoyed this, please forward it on to someone else. Thank you. Bye-bye.